Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is one of the greatest games that came out on the Nintendo Switch, and I saw surprisingly little about this game anywhere on the internet. And that's crazy, because this game sold about 1/3 the copies of games like Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. If you don't know, Mario plus Rabbids is a series of tactical RPGs that have an incredibly unique gameplay loop involving the use of a grid-based movement system where your three characters of choice move around the battlefield, hide behind cover, and use various weaponry to defeat their enemies. It's an incredibly good game that goes on sale often, so if you haven't played it, I could not recommend it more. With that in mind, the game is a little too easy for me at this point. The sequel has difficulty settings, but with the original, there's nothing of the sort. Because of this, I decided I wanted to beat the game without my characters ever firing their main weapons. And Mario would never use a gun. This was basically the only difficulty I could think of. I will go into the connotations of this throughout the video, but here are my base rules. First, I obviously am not allowed to use my primary weapons. This means I can't use blasters, shotguns, snipers, or miniguns. On top of this, I won't allow myself to use any abilities that scale off of the damage that the primary weapons deal, but we'll see what those are later. Other than that, there really isn't anything else to go over, so let's hop right in. The game begins with a young engineer who's apparently named Cassidy making a cool headset called the Supamerge that can merge any two things together. She's seemingly a part of the real world as she has a large amount of Mario merchandise. But after having a power issue with her insanely impressive headset, she leaves and the raving Rabbids with their time-traveling washing machine just pop into existence and start wreaking havoc. During this chaos, one of the Rabbids puts on the headset and then starts fusing everything together. But then he accidentally blasts the washing machine, creating a portal into the Mario world where everything gets all fused together and Rabbidified, including the headset's little helper, Beepo. Then the Rabbid with the headset fuses with the headset and starts just fusing everything else around him together even more, creating a world full of Rabbids mixed with Mario things. But this is where we meet our hero Mario, and his apparent two new companions, Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi. This brings us to our first battle, where we get our first weapons of the game, and of course, their primary weapons. And of course there's a tutorial. So, in the first battle of the game, they literally force us to shoot our weapons because they have to make sure we know how to. And there isn't a way around this. So immediately the challenge is over. But who really counts tutorials as part of this? And besides, after beating that combat, the other tutorials don't make us attack, so we can just start from there. Now you may be wondering, how are you supposed to attack if you can't use your main weapon? Well, our main form of damage for the time being is going to be the dash ability. By running through an enemy, you can deal 20 damage to them. However, Rabbid Luigi deals 30 damage instead of 20, so he's going to be really important to keep alive. With the ability to dash, we can beat this fight pretty easily in just a couple of turns. And you know, I'd be kind of scared if it was difficult this early on. I mean, we're literally still in the tutorial. Oh wait, never mind, we just went into chapter 2. This is not the tutorial anymore. Hopefully it doesn't get any harder. Well, yeah, it's already getting harder. An issue that I have immediately run into is the fact that these Ziggies have the same movement range that I do. This means it is very difficult for me to get in range to dash into enemies. They can basically always stay out of range and just shoot me as I'm trying to approach them. And this wouldn't be too bad. It'd suck, but it wouldn't be that bad. Except, I'm not the only one who gets to dash. Ziggies are also able to dash into us. On top of that, this battle shows off one of my favorite quirks of this game, while also being incredibly annoying for me to deal with. So imagine a game like Dungeons & Dragons, if you wanted to run over and attack an enemy that was half of your movement distance away, and then run to cover that was back where you originally were, you would have to use all of your movement to do so. But that's not how it works in this game. If you use part of your movement to go and dash into an opponent, you actually don't use up your movement. This system literally lets you move anywhere that is in your initial circle of movement, meaning you can make your guy go on like a 2-mile run to do whatever you want them to do. This is great and all when I can make use of it, but the enemies can make way better use of it right now, as they can dash into my characters and then run back to a location that is completely out of my movement range. And then they still get to shoot me. I'll just tell you right now, this fight took so many attempts. In the first one, I literally had this one enemy keep running out of my range 4 turns in a row and I couldn't do anything about it. So in my good attempt, I made sure to be a bit more intentional about where I put my allies. And when I say being more intentional, I mean basically cornering the enemies into places where at least one of my characters will be able to dash into them, no matter where they move. So after dashing into this first guy and straight up killing him, I send Mario across this chasm with our other movement option, the team jump. This allows me to corner them where there's absolutely no way for them to stay away from me. Honestly, I wasn't sure if this would work out, but it actually did. Mario and Peach end up being able to just barely reach one of the remaining Ziggies, and then on the final turn, I take out the last one with Rabbid Luigi. Finally, we got that done. Now, something I have to consider as I go through these levels is my health. This game splits each world up into 9 chapters, and you only heal once you beat a chapter. That means that sometimes there are chapters that are 2 or 3 battles, making your health an incredibly important resource. But we do get a heal after this level, so we don't have to worry about that right now. After continuing onward, we run into Toad, who seems to be lost and can't find his partner Toadette. So we go through and bring him back to Toadette, and once they're together, we get an email from our biggest fan. The same biggest fan as how we got our weapons earlier. With that, our fan teleports us to Peach's castle, and Peach is very happy to see us. I was hoping I would get some new form of damage here, but sadly, we just unlocked the place that lets us upgrade our weapons. And we don't have new ones yet, so it's whatever. With this in mind, I solve a little puzzle to get to the cannon that takes us back to World 1. Because it just kind of kicks us out of World 1 halfway through. I don't really know why, but it's whatever. Here we're introduced to jumpers, the enemy type that is able to use the team jump like we can. But these guys suck even more than Ziggies. While they aren't able to dash into us like Ziggies can, they have a much easier time staying far away from us since they have basically twice as much movement due to their jump. And the level that they get introduced in is absolutely awful. Since I can only deal damage by running up and dashing into enemies, I try to run up and dash into the enemies. But this was a horrible mistake, as I immediately get gunned down as I run up to them. It's bad. At this point, it's pretty obvious that I can't just sprint at enemies to deal with them, especially with my current way of dealing damage. So after 3 failed attempts at this fight, I realize what has to be done. I must do something that all non-MMO players hate to do. I have to be patient. At the start of this attempt, I hide behind some unbreakable walls. This forces the enemies who want to attack me to run forward so they can try to get in range. Now at this point in the playthrough, I had already begun to kind of intuitively learn things about how the AI of the enemies work, and while I don't know as much as I could by this point in the playthrough, I do find out something very important. Enemies hate to shoot you from out in the open. The enemies try their hardest to stay behind some kind of cover before taking any shots at you, as they want to stay safe. But this is incredibly easy to take advantage of. By placing myself behind these unbreakable walls, they have no way to deal damage to us, but they do want to be in range to take shots. Because of this, a jumper runs up behind this block in the middle, putting him in range of all 3 of my character's movements. And since jumpers can't dash into us, there's no fear of me even taking damage here. So after dealing 70 damage to him after he initially runs up, he does get scared and run away, but after backing my guys up just a little bit more, he runs back up and we can then kill him. Now at this point, the enemies just kind of stand around and aren't running up anymore. But with one of the enemies taken down completely for free, it is way easier for me to use my health as a resource without dying. And so, after a few more back and forth turns, I'm able to take out 2 of the enemies in a single turn and then finish off the last jumper a couple turns later. Now I will be honest, these early levels take a lot of luck just as much as they take skill. Honestly, probably more luck than skill this early on. The maps in this game are one of the best parts. There are many different areas that allow you to do things like break line of sight, go behind cover, and make incredibly strategic plays to destroy your enemies. And speaking of strategic plays to destroy my enemies, I don't get to do any of that in this next level, as it's our first reach the goal type level. These types of levels simply require you to get a single character to the goal. There are no requirements to defeat any amount of enemies, so many times it's perfectly acceptable and even recommended to completely ignore the enemies and just sprint past them to the exit. To help with this goal, there's a new thing on the map. The pipes. These pipes are your generic Mario pipes turned Rabbid. They take you from one end to the other. But the fun thing about these pipes is that they somewhat reset your movement. When exiting a pipe, no matter how much movement you had going into it, you are always allowed to move 3 spaces after leaving. This isn't that helpful right now, but we get to do some really silly things with it later. For now, we can pretty easily make it to the end by going through the pipe and working as a team to reach the end of the level with a few team jumps. After beating that level, we enter Chapter 4 and our biggest fan gives us access to our skills. Well, our biggest fan gives us access to our special abilities. Skill tree is later. The Rabbid characters in this game get some form of barrier to block a percentage of either weapon or dash damage from enemies. Rabbid Peach's barrier blocks 40% weapon damage and 20% movement damage. Rabbid Luigi's barrier blocks only 20% in each category, but also makes him immune to super effects. More on those later. With these new abilities, I can strategize a lot more. In our next battle, there are two of those pipes that run along the side of the battlefield, but I'm able to use them to my advantage and take out some enemies while moving to better cover. When thinking about what to do with Rabbid Peach, I actually want her to be completely out in the open sometimes with absolutely no cover. This seems counterintuitive, but since she has her bubble ability, she is the tankiest of anyone that I have right now. Now, enemies very much prefer to attack someone that they are guaranteed to hit, and because of this, you can force the enemies to attack whatever character you want. If Rabbid Peach is out in the open and Mario and Rabbid Luigi are in cover, the enemies will, 100% of the time, attack Rabbid Peach. The only exception to this is if the enemies are able to first move to a location that this would no longer be the case. So by using this strategy, I can get down to the last guy. And I mean, the next fight sucks pretty bad. In my first attempt, both Mario and Rabbid Peach die, and then I accidentally clicked the ground where I meant to dash into an enemy, ending my turn with Rabbid Luigi. This is one of the few minor annoyances I have with this game. It can be really easy to mess up your inputs if you're going a little too fast with your inputs. Anyway, after a few more attempts, I realized I did not enter this fight with enough health, as I did not get to heal after the previous fight. So I went back to do the one before, and left my characters with way more health. It is at this point that I come to a very important realization. Mario is not important at all right now. Since I'm not using the hero side ability, literally all he can do on a given turn is move and deal a max of 20 damage. He can't even defend in some way. So, I try to make sure to keep Rabbid Luigi and Rabbid Peach alive as much as possible. Rabbid Peach died on this attempt, but I do end up successfully defeating all the enemies, and that allows us to get a full heal as this is where the chapter ends. Now we begin Chapter 5. And this chapter is my least favorite in this world, and possibly in the entire game. So let's go ahead and start the first of two battles. This one is much harder than the last few, as there's an amount of verticality that we have to deal with now. When you are above an enemy and shoot down on them, you get a high ground bonus, which gives you a varied amount of extra damage to your attack. This makes this fight incredibly difficult, as the enemies also get this buff. And since we aren't allowed to shoot enemies with our weapons, only the enemies get this buff. Now I'll be 100% honest with you. This fight took about 25 minutes worth of attempts to beat, which is the most of any level so far. But in my winning attempt, I decided I should immediately drop both Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi to the lower level to immediately kill one of the enemies. Then, I put Mario in a position to take any amount of shots that he can. I just need to make sure that the two Rabbids stay alive. After this happens, I'm able to wipe the floor with all of the enemies by basically just running them down one by one. It was shockingly easy once I turned my brain off. I did make sure that I always force the enemies to go into pipes as part of their movement though. By doing this, I force them to have the shortened post-pipe movement, which means that as long as I can reach the pipe, I can always hit the enemy on the other side. With that, I was able to finish this fight, but I ended up pretty low. You can't see it right now because my stupid head is covering all the health bars, because I don't know how to make an overlay. But Mario has 15 health, Rabbid Luigi has 105 health, and Rabbid Peach has 111 health. This is not a lot, especially since we are about to go into one of the hardest battles of this challenge. But there is a fun exploit that we can do to fix this issue. And no, it's not cheating. Kinda? I mean, I wouldn't call it cheating, but maybe that's just me. You see, there are occasionally some mushrooms around that heal every member of the party by 70 HP. This is great and all, but that's still not nearly enough to get me to full HP, and I really want to be at full HP for this next battle. So, time for an exploit. If you go ahead and pick up the mushroom, then enter the next fight, you can immediately leave to the main menu. Then, if you simply go back into your save, you will be put outside the battle again, and the mushroom will be there again, while saving the HP that you had previously gained from it. This allows us to fully heal off of any of these mushrooms that we find, if we so choose. And honestly, it is an absolute requirement for this next battle, seeing as our next battle is against this world's mid-boss, the Rabbid plant. This guy sucks. He has so much going for him. For starters, he has 300 health, meaning at a minimum, I will have to hit him with 10 dash attacks from just Rabbid Luigi, or more likely about 14 or so split between my party members. This guy also doesn't just simply have a gun that he shoots at us, he has a freaking rocket launcher. And not just a freaking rocket launcher, this freaking okay, I'll stop. The rocket launcher has a huge range compared to anything we have come across at this point, and it also does AoE damage within 2 squares. And on top of that, while it doesn't have a 100% chance, it has a very high chance to land its super effect. Super effects are like the status conditions of this game, ranging from bouncing you backwards to freezing you and making you not able to use your abilities, all the way to completely turning you to stone. This guy's super effective choice is the burn, which seems counterintuitive coming from a plant. Although I guess there are literally fire-breathing piranha plants. You'll ever think about that? Like, these guys should absolutely not be breathing fire. Anyway, the burn status condition, when activated, makes the target literally just run around randomly, usually putting them in the middle of nowhere. This generally means that they will be completely open to attacks from all directions with no cover to protect them. So yeah, with all these great things that this guy's got going for him, what do we have? Literally the same things as before. The only thing that has a chance of helping us is these super blocks. When struck by any kind of attack, these blocks explode and immediately hit any enemy in range with its super effect that is listed. So for these, they burn us if they explode while we are nearby. In this battle, we have to deal with the Rabbids plant and 2 Ziggies. And this fight is where I slowly began learning how the enemy AI works in some regards. Well, that's an overstatement. This battle is where I realized that there isn't really any RNG when it comes to enemy movements. If you do the exact same thing every single time, the enemies will also do the exact same thing every single time. So it took many attempts to figure out exactly what I needed to do to make this guy take the exact actions that I wanted. And like, when I say it took me a lot of attempts, I mean it took a lot of attempts. So yeah, after about an hour of attempts, I figure out what I think is the best way to start this fight. It still ended up being a little bit more of an RNG dependent fight. And by a little bit, I mean it took me another whole hour to finally get an attempt that even got close to beating him. So let's go through my plan. To start the battle, I move Peach behind this half cover to keep her somewhat safe while also allowing her to be moved slightly towards the left of the map. Then I move Rabbid Luigi into this exact location and have him put up his super barrier. Putting him here guarantees that he is the one who will get shot during the enemy's turn. Then I have Mario jump off of Rabbid Luigi and land behind this full cover. Because Rabbid Luigi is out in the open, it forces the Rabbid to shoot Rabbid Luigi immediately. If I don't do this, he will move first and then shoot someone that I don't want him to. The Rabbid then moves behind this fire block, and that is perfect for us. Our damage output is hilariously low, so any extra damage will help. After he moves behind this block, one of the 2 Ziggies runs up next to him to support. But that Ziggy is the only reason I am able to do what I am about to do. I launch Rabbid Luigi off of Mario and have him land directly behind the Rabbid. Then I dash into the Ziggy and launch onto the other side, ending my turn by putting up Rabbid Peach's bubble. Now, being this close to the Rabbid seems like a pretty stupid idea, especially since he has that AoE attack that can hit both Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi at the same time. But this is actually the only way to deal more damage than normal to this guy. See, the explosion from rockets does not care who is in range, including that it doesn't care about the owner. So this guy can literally hit himself with it. Normally, he would never put himself into a position to hit himself with his own rocket, but thanks to the Ziggy and my 2 Rabbids next to him, he is unable to move. And since enemies always attack if they're in range to do so, he is now forced to not only blow himself up, but he is also now going to blow up both the Ziggy and the firebox next to him. This kills the Ziggy and deals 77 extra damage to the Rabbid. And with how I had set up my positioning, only Peach took damage from the box. And she took less damage overall because of her shield. So now he's down about 100 HP from his maximum. This does burn literally everyone in the vicinity though, making every character literally just run somewhere random. This was the biggest piece of RNG in this fight, but after the Rabbid finishes running around frantically, he still gets to move and runs into this corner. And this is like the best thing that he could have done. He's in range of both of my Rabbids, so I get another 50 damage off on him, and send Peach to go after the remaining Ziggy. At this point, Mario is easily the healthiest of anyone, so he is now deemed the tank for the rest of the fight. Basically, as long as I can both keep Rabbid Luigi in range to dash, and also keep him alive, I have a very solid chance. The Rabbids shoots Mario since I put him out in the open, and he runs to where he is still in range of Rabbid Luigi, which is perfect. I smack him again and then move Luigi through some pipes to put him behind an unbreakable full cover. Then I send Mario to help Rabbid Peach with this Ziggy across the map. This guy needs to die so he doesn't just explode one of us randomly. The Rabbid runs up and shoots Mario, and the Ziggy does some more damage to Peach. I have Peach chase after the Ziggy some more, but she is struggling to get into range. The Rabbid's attack on Mario burns him and moves him closer to the Rabbid. And at this point, I've realized it's just time for Mario and Luigi to be the dynamic duo that they were always meant to be. I have Rabbid Luigi hide for just one more turn, but put up his super barrier, as I know that this guy is going to try to do some kind of move to kill Rabbid Luigi. But at this point, I had put Mario out in the open to hopefully pull aggro. But just as I thought, the Rabbid runs to the side and attacks Rabbid Luigi, leaving him at 9 HP. With Rabbid Luigi so low, I dash into the Rabbid and go through some pipes to make sure he's safe. Then Peach is finally able to finish off the Ziggy, and I put her somewhat out in the open. I do this since Peach is pretty far away, meaning she won't be much help at this point, but I do want her to be out in the open so the Rabbid can snipe her from across the map instead of killing Rabbid Luigi or Mario. And he does so. On his next turn, he gets pretty close to Rabbid Luigi, but shoots Peach, and I'm able to deal some more damage, then hide behind this wall on the side that makes me closer to where he might end up going. I end my turn by dashing into him with Mario, putting him down to 23 HP. At this point, both of my characters are one hit away from death, and both of them are out in the open. With him at 23 health, Mario needs to be the one to take the hit, since only Rabbid Luigi can deal enough damage to kill here, and the Rabbid needs to move close enough so that Rabbid Luigi can dash into him. So, I just have to end the turn and wait. And he attacks Mario, and he moves into range of Rabbid Luigi, and yes, it's finally over! 2 hours of my life gone, but it was worth it. Guys, that was the mid-boss. That was one mid-boss of the game. That wasn't even a boss, that was a mini-boss. That's like Lizalfo's tier in Zelda. Anyway, after this combat, we get Luigi, and we finally unlock new things to use. We now have access to the skill tree, opening up a ton of new things for us to play with. However, the most important thing that we have access to now is our secondary weapons. Mario gets access to a hammer that does a lot of AoE damage, but requires you to be right in the enemy's face to deal the damage. Rabbid Luigi gets a rocket launcher just like the Rabbids, so I don't need to explain that one again. But Luigi and Rabbid Peach get quite possibly the best secondary in the game. No, not quite possibly, it is the best secondary in the game. They get the Sentry, a little Roomba with a bomb attached to it. These things move a set distance towards the enemy that they are aimed at each turn. Once they reach the enemy, or an enemy runs through their area of effect, the Sentry explodes. Now, since the secondaries are locked behind our skill tree, that means we have to have enough skill points to equip them. And right now, we only start with 10. So we only have enough for half of our party members to have their secondaries equipped. We do have the ability to upgrade ourselves in other ways if we choose, but I still don't have the skill points to upgrade myself effectively. So for now, we'll just grab what secondaries we can and start the next fight. And these secondaries are so helpful. Like, we can finally damage enemies. Like, in this entire fight, I definitely take some damage, but with the ability to send in my little sentry, I can easily just sit behind some cover and send sentry after sentry at the enemies. The next battle introduces the Chain Chomp, a neutral enemy that will attack both allies and enemies alike. They just attack whoever is the closest to them at any given moment. Because of these Chain Chomps, I get to employ one of my favorite strategies in this game, what I like to call putting myself in timeout. There are a shocking amount of times that I can gain an advantage by simply running into a corner with all of my allies and forcing the enemies to move into weird positions, or in this case, get attacked by the Chain Chomp. Well, actually I end up being closer to the Chain Chomp, so definitely just can't be in timeout. That's okay, Luigi can just kill everyone with the sentry. It's really just that good. Another thing I want to quickly talk about is the environment in this game. Everything is larger than life, with many of the set pieces literally being things that were in the scientist girl's house earlier. This causes many silly things to happen because of all the giant things, such as fans blowing away helpless Rabbids, and bonsai bills getting stuck in pairs of underwear. This game is so goofy, while also just having an incredibly fun and surprisingly in-depth gameplay loop. Anyway, the next fight isn't really anything to write home about. Mario and Luigi truly are a dynamic duo here, and I can simply use their new secondary weapons to just destroy everything I come in contact with. The fight after that one introduces our newest type of enemy, the Smashers. These guys only have a melee attack, and they also have a shorter movement speed than all other enemies. But they do have a special mechanic that helps make up for this. If they take weapon damage, they immediately run towards the person that damaged them. And if during this movement they move into range of an enemy, they will immediately take an attack on that enemy. Now I did say weapon damage, because these guys don't care if you dash through them or anything like that. These guys are pretty fun to deal with by using Rabbid Peach and Luigi's sentries, as they can move into range of the stationary sentries even on my turn, causing them to take a lot of extra damage if I play it right. This level is just a simple reach the area mission, and I can get one of my party members to the end pretty easily. And now that we have completed a level, we gain some more power orbs, the currency for the skill tree. With this, I can start upgrading my other party members. The best upgrade I get here is Mario's Stomp Attack. This allows Mario to use a second type of movement attack. If Mario does a team jump, he can now bounce off the enemy's head and deal damage to them, meaning that he can do both a dash and this team jump on enemies in the same turn. With this, I just destroy the next battle. I start by team jumping Mario up to the jumper, and then bounce off him to deal damage and set up next to the jumper on the top area. Then, I explode the jumper with a hammer to straight up kill him. Then I set up Rabbid Peach and Luigi as well as their sentries. And then I just defeat them all in the next round. One of the things that I absolutely love about this game is the various puzzles throughout. They get more complicated as you go through the game, but there are many sections that involve clicking various colored buttons to make platforms or pipes move into the correct spots. The next few battles are incredibly easy for me, so let's just go ahead and move on to the final battle of the world. This is our first world boss, so we need to prepare, because it's probably going to be pretty hard. I make sure to equip all of my strongest weapons and set up my skills exactly how I want. As we enter the battlefield, we find our VR headset Rabbid. But before we can grab him, Bowser Jr. swoops in and steals the little guy. He does come up with a pretty good name for him before leaving though. The little headset Rabbid is now named Spawny, which is a pretty solid name overall. Before leaving, Bowser Jr. forces Spawny to create Rabbid Kong, a banana-loving boss. Well, I guess we don't actually know if he created Rabbid Kong. We never see him do it. This guy hangs out around the edges of the battlefield. The way you're supposed to fight this guy involves shooting him with your weapons, since he is on the other side of an unjumpable gap, so you have no way to get close to him. But this isn't great for us, since obviously we can't really shoot enemies because that's this whole challenge. So what to do? Well, there is a single way for us to deal damage to this guy, and that's with Rabbid Luigi's rocket launcher. But this thing only does about 35 damage, and Rabbid Kong has 120 health. This means I'll have to hit him at least 4 times to take him out, and since secondaries take a turn to recharge, that means it will take at least 7 turns for me to kill him. But on top of this, he has 3 phases, and can heal after taking damage by eating the bananas right in front of him. The only way to get him to stop eating these bananas is by stepping on the pressure plate right in front of him to make them drop into the ground. This puts us in pretty obvious danger though by being directly in front of him, which obviously isn't great. His attack involves a shockwave that goes across the whole stage and does bounce damage, knocking away anyone who gets hit. This is scary, as there's a giant hole in the ground that we can pretty easily fall into. So with all this combined, it's a pretty spooky fight. Okay, who am I kidding? This fight is hilariously easy. In fact, the scariest thing about this fight is the 3 Ziggies that are here at the start, but they also are just super easy to deal with. This fight is easy for a few reasons. The first is that I never actually have to get close to him to knock the bananas down. This is because, instead of the requirement being that I need one of my party members to stand on the pressure plate, it is actually just that literally anything needs to be on the pressure plate. This means that I can literally just send a sentry towards Rabbid Kong to hit the pressure plate. And since the sentries are unable to reach him, that means they will just keep following him to any new location that he goes to. But even if I did have to move up to get on that pressure plate, I still wouldn't be scared, because the second reason he's easy is that his attack is stupidly weak. It does 10 damage. On top of that, I can literally just hide behind these metal boxes and take no damage. So I can literally take as much time as I want to kill this guy and have basically zero fear of death. And the third reason, just to add to that, is that with the new amount of power orbs that I got from defeating all those levels earlier, Rabbid Peach now has access to her skill, Heal, which is just a straight up heal to all allies in range by 20% health. It's too good for this fight. So with all of that in combination, I can quite literally just shoot pellets at this guy until he dies with zero risk of death myself. And so, after watching Rabbid Kong make one of the most interesting decisions I've ever seen in my life by climbing up the most precarious stack of blocks I've ever seen, Rabbid Peach knocks the piece holding everything together, and Rabbid Kong Falls. Rabbid Peach does make sure to take some nice selfies before he falls to his death though. Now after this, Rabbid Peach shows Rabbid Luigi all the selfies, and Luigi wants to look as well, but he has to sneak in to look at them because the Rabbids don't want to let him. I love these little moments in this game. They add so much life to the characters and it's just overall good fun. I mean, look at this. Now after completing each world, we gain access to the challenge levels of that world. These challenges use the same maps as before, but add a new and interesting twist to the level, sometimes being something like adding more enemies, starting you from a different position, or just changing the goal of the level entirely, such as turning a level that you would normally just race to the end into a level that you must defeat all enemies by turn 3. Now, these challenges are very fun and interesting, but this video has already been going for like 30 minutes at this point, and if I go into the challenges right now, it will be a 2-hour video at the minimum, probably longer. So instead, I'm going to save all those challenges for one of my next videos, because many of them were incredibly difficult for me to do without shooting. So stay tuned for that. For now, know that the challenges give you a bunch more power orbs after completing them all. World 2 is called Sherbet Desert, an icy hot land full of sand and snow. The first few battles of this world aren't really anything to write home about, with the exception that Ziggies are now stronger. All Ziggies from this point will have the ability to use Villain Sight, which is the reaction-based attack in which they attack when they detect movement. But this is where the Sentry gets even better, because it is able to trigger this reaction. It's easily one of my favorite secondaries. It has so much going on with it. As I continue through the game, I run into a few more simple puzzles that show us how certain game mechanics work. Namely, these sliding blocks show up right before a required sliding block puzzle. Or I guess, a sliding ball puzzle? Something I love about this game are all the little interactions that Rabbids do off to the sides of the path that we take around the world. Like these two, who are acting out a duel in the Wild West. There are so many ways that they have these little guys be fun and interesting, and it breathes a lot of life into the game. Our next battle is actually just a reach the area level, and with Luigi now on the team, these just get easier and easier. Luigi's whole gimmick normally is that he has the longest range weapon and can also use his Hero Sight ability 3 times in a single turn when maxed out. But the other thing that's unique about him is his ability to traverse the map faster and more effectively than any other party member. While every Rabbid character gets something special added to their dash attack, every non-Rabbid character gets something fancy related to their team jump. And Luigi's is perfect for traversal, as he gets the ability to team jump into another team jump, as well as just get more range on his jump in general. With everything combined and with perfect conditions, Luigi can move a total of 32 squares in a single turn. The closest anyone else can do is around 18. And that's not even including if there's a pipe around. So yeah, Luigi is basically a necessity for these reach the area missions. And even without the ability to get all these maxed out upgrades at the moment, Luigi is still able to beat this level in 3 turns when the amount required to get the best rank is 7. In our next battle, we run into the supporter class of Rabbids. These guys throw grenades as their main damage source, which is basically just rockets, but like, are different. They are more likely to trigger super effects with their grenades though, so that's a little bad. On top of this, they also have the ability to heal their allies just like Rabbid Peach can, so that's also not great. But this healing aspect never really proves difficult for me, and so I beat the fight pretty easily. And I'll be so real, there isn't anything difficult for me at this point. So let's just head over to the mid-boss of the world. Blizzy and Sandy are pretty crazy. Blizzy is a sniper that they can use to quite literally hit the entire map. Sandy, on the other hand, throws grenades from about half the distance that Blizzy can. Something that this fight introduces to me is the fact that getting burned by an enemy immediately causes all enemies to activate their Villain Sight, meaning I can get like super comboed by them. Sandy also has the ability to put up a shield that fully blocks all damage once. He can do this basically every turn. The Sentry does prove just how good it is during this fight though, as it tanks so many random hits from enemies that are either using their Villain Sight or are just attacking normally. In my successful attempt against these guys, I do whatever it takes to take out Blizzy first, as Blizzy is very scary. So, I use Mario's special ability, M-Power. Get it like Empower, but like it's Mario Power? Do you get it? Anyway, this ability increases the damage of Mario and his allies for the turn. By using this, Mario can make Luigi and Rabbid Peach strong enough to combo kill Blizzy in a single turn, and over the next few turns, I'm able to defeat Sandy fairly simply. After the battle, we unlock my favorite character in this entire game, Rabid Mario also has a hammer as his secondary of choice, but he is absolutely the better user of it. His special ability is Magnet Dance, which acts as a taunt that pulls every enemy in range towards Rabid Mario by about 4 or 5 spaces. This is absolutely incredible for his kit specifically, because while the hammer is great to deal damage to enemies that come close to him, his dash ability is just as good. Rabid Mario's specialty dash is the Explosion Dash, meaning that any time he dashes into an enemy, it has splash damage that does about 70% of the damage to nearby enemies. So by max rank, you can hit an entire group of enemies for like 70 damage each, plus whatever he wants to do with the hammer as well. He is easily the best when it comes to this challenge in terms of DPS. Like, no one comes close to his DPS. Another thing that makes him really good is the fact that Mario is forced to be on the team, meaning that Magnet Dance not only helps Rabid Mario get more damage off, but also pulls enemies together for Mario to use his hammer. Now, other than some more battles, puzzles, and the occasional orbs, there isn't much for me to talk about that's interesting at this point. So let's just skip right on ahead to the boss of the world. This is the Icicle Golem. Once entering the battle, this guy immediately freezes my entire team. Guess the challenge is over. Man, sucks. Oh, never mind. Peach is here to pop off like the queen that she is. Well, princess. Like the princess she is. Rabid Mario does end up getting stuck frozen for this fight, which is a bit sad because we got him pretty recently and I would have loved to use him here. Due to this, Peach is forced onto the team. And we don't get to decide what kind of upgrades she gets to her skill tree for this fight. The game just gives her whatever it decides. Peach gets a grenade duck. A grenade duck? Peach gets a grenade as her secondary of choice, which is honestly not the best overall. Honestly, I'd say it's a contender for the worst. Now this boss is a lot. He has 4 phases and he does a decent amount of damage while also having 500 max health. This guy's actually a problem compared to Rabid Kong. With these 4 phases, he has a total of about 1500 health that we have to deal with throughout this fight. Thankfully, unlike Rabid Kong, I actually am able to hit this guy with things like Mario's hammer, meaning that I can do some serious damage to him instead of just using the little pellets from Rabid Luigi. The golem does have a shield, but with Mario's close range hammer and the AoE of my other 2 secondaries, this doesn't really ever become an issue. The golem's weapon is another rocket launcher, which, funnily enough, also does damage to him, just like how the rocket did with the Parabid, although it doesn't matter as much here. In phase 2, he drops his shield and starts going for melee attacks, while also getting his own type of villain sight. But again, it's not too much of an issue until the 2 smashers show up. These guys are terrifying, as in World 2, they get the ability to use enemy power, basically the same as Mario's M power, but the enemy version. These guys make this fight incredibly scary, as I'm constantly fearing for my life with these guys around the corner. But I am successfully able to deal with the smashers, but it does leave my team incredibly low on health, and the boss still has a full 2 phases after this one. But I haven't told you about the best thing about Peach yet. Her jump ability heals. And not just her, it heals her allies. Every time that Peach team jumps off an ally, wherever she lands, she creates a healing circle that heals 10% of her allies' health. Now of course this is great and all, but even though I didn't tell you about it, I have been using it this whole fight, and the Ice Golem is still easily out damaging that heal. But that's when I discover something really funny about this fight.
Wait. You can't go down the hill?
Yeah, so this guy gets stuck on the top platform because he can't go down small ledges for some reason. And after looking at his range, I realized something even funnier. There are 10 squares on the entire map that this guy straight up cannot reach. With anything. Not movement, not attacks, nothing. Because of this, he kind of just ends up standing and staring at us from a distance while I have Peach just use her healing jump about 10 times in a row over the course of 10 turns. This allows me to fully heal my team without him being able to do anything about it. So, I can full heal and then enter into phase 3 as if I just started the battle. In his final phase, he loses his legs for some reason, but in the process, finally learns how to go down slopes, so he actually gets close to me. At this point, he summons 2 supporters, but they're super easy to deal with compared to the smashers, so I take them out, and after a few more turns, Rabid Luigi is able to hit the final attack on phase 3, and the golem's head falls off to put him in his last phase. But I mean, is this really a phase? Rabid Luigi dashes into the head, and that ends the fight. So Peach hits the cleanest kick I've ever seen someone in a dress hit. I did end up going over the recommended turn limit by just a little bit, but I mean, I beat the battle, so who really cares? All that does for me is give me more money, and I'm already not buying any of the primary weapons, so I have all the money I could ever want at this point. The next world is easily my favorite. Spooky Trails has an incredible vibe to it and has one of my favorite little details in this entire game. In the background of this world, there are these spooky vines that have strings attached to them that kind of make them look like little harps. And that's just it. They are little harps. They're animated to make it look like they're the ones playing whatever song is happening at the moment. Anyway, this world doesn't start out with anything super crazy in terms of fights. The first few really just prove how powerful Rabbid Mario is, and also help to show that Rabbid Luigi is pretty good as well. Rabbid Luigi has kind of been put on the sidelines so far, and he sadly doesn't get that much more screen time throughout this. He does help a bit in this world, but he does have one of the coolest dash abilities. His dash is Vamp Dash, which guaranteed inflicts enemies with the Vamp status, making allies heal for a percentage of the damage that they deal to that enemy on the same turn. It's pretty good in specific situations, especially once you upgrade the Vamp to heal for 100% of the damage dealt, but many times it's kind of just better to kill them. I mean, the best defense is a good offense, if you know what I mean. This area is another type of puzzle that I really like. It's a simple area with a bunch of pushable blocks, and you might not be sure what to do at first, but I would never have such a problem. I realized pretty quickly that you are supposed to mirror these other blocks on the other side. And as a reward for doing this puzzle, 20 power orbs, baby! Let's go! Nothing gets me more hyped than seeing 20 power orbs. It's something else, man. In our next battle, we're introduced to the Peekaboo, an enemy that is similar in many ways to Luigi. These guys have a long-range sniper attack. On top of that, they are also able to teleport basically anywhere on the map if they choose so. Pretty annoying to deal with, but it's whatever. They never teleport super far away, so it's generally not a problem, but it is still definitely an annoyance. What is definitely more annoying than these guys is the other type of ghost we have to deal with. We have to start dealing with boos in this world, a new neutral enemy that will latch onto party members that pass by them. Once a boo latches on, at the end of my turn, the boo will teleport whatever party member they've latched onto to a random spot near the beginning of the map. These guys are also annoying, but generally I can just figure out how to go around them, and if I can't, they kinda just end up sending me to a safe area, so it's not all bad. After doing a few battles here, we end up finding Toadette, who apparently can't find her boo anymore. Wait, that's not right. Is that like a bad thing to say here? Like I meant like boo like her significant other, like Toad, but like, what do boos call their significant others? Do they call them humans? Is that self-centered of me to think that we're important enough that boos would call... Why did I just get into that tangent? Anyway, Toadette needs help finding Toad because he decided to play hide and seek in the spooky place. And so now, we have to do a type of mission that I failed to mention until now. Escort missions. These missions are like my favorite missions, the Reach the Area missions. The issue is that instead of needing just any one of my team members to reach that final zone, I instead need Toadette to reach the final zone. And she sucks! Escorted allies have one of the lowest movement speeds in the game, they have incredibly low health pools, and they can't do anything but move. It's so sad because I love the Reach the Goal missions. Those missions gave Luigi so much to do, but like, not really anymore. Ha, just kidding, yeah, I got you. Luigi's actually very good in these missions. His maxed out Itchy Feet ability gives allies an extra 3 range movement. So specifically for escorted allies, it almost doubles their movement range. Luigi's also great because his sentry distracts enemies from attacking the escorted ally, and that's great because of how little HP they have. Any single shot taken away from the escorted ally is just another shot that they have to take later. With the help of Luigi and also some help from Rabbid Peach's sentries, we successfully bring Toadette to the end. With Toadette safe, we pass by some seasick Rabbids and begin the next leg of our journey. Before doing so, I have to do a little laser puzzle, but again, these puzzles are genuinely so fun to figure out. I love me some good puzzles. I finally picked up Blueprints the other day and it's been sick. There's like nothing compared to that game for me right now. After doing a few more battles, we reach this world's mid-boss, Rabbid Yoshi. I'm kidding, Rabbid Yoshi got taken hostage by Calavera. Calavera is a decently hard fight, but not nearly as bad as my main op, the Parabid. Since he grabbed Rabbid Yoshi, he is able to use all of his abilities for himself. He also has 1100 health, which is the biggest health bar we've seen so far. He also has a shield, meaning that if I'm standing on the side of the shield, I can't get a good hit. But thankfully, with Mario and Rabbid Mario, it just means that I need to not be specifically on the square directly in front of the shield to be able to still hit him with the hammer. I tend to use Mario, and Rabbid Luigi for many of the fights at the moment because they are just a solid damaging combo, since Rabbid Luigi has the highest damage single target dashes, and Rabbid Mario has the highest damage output in general. But yeah, with these two plus Mario, I can blaze through this battle. And with that, we save Rabbid Yoshi. He is a little upset about Calavera catching him, and you know, rightfully so, but don't worry about him shooting down the well at him. He's not on the team yet. Rabbid Yoshi is pretty good, all things considered. I forgot to mention it earlier, but Peach's special dash ability is the fact that she can dash into up to 4 people at max rank, at 100 damage each. But Rabbid Yoshi kind of steals her spotlight, as he gets to dash into 5 enemies for 90 damage each. He also gets a generally better shield than her. At max rank, his shield gives him full damage immunity for 2 attacks in the turn. It's really good. In our next battle, we meet another new type of Rabbid enemy. This is the Valkyrie, the dual minigun wielding knight type enemy, the double-barreled baddies. Why is this their design? Guys, this is a Mario game. How? Okay, anyway, these guys have 2 fancy abilities other than their miniguns. The first is that they can redirect damage from nearby allies to themselves for a turn, making them take about 50% of the damage instead. The other ability is that they have a ground pound jump. Once they jump off their ally, they create a large shockwave where they land, which deals damage to everyone in its radius. These are one of the scariest enemies in this game, as they deal an insane amount of damage and also have a pretty solid super chance, having the ability to bounce my party around. But again, there aren't that many issues that I actually run into at this point. Rabbid Mario is genuinely carrying this entire game. He's just that good. One final enemy type that I forgot to mention because it never came up is the Bucklers. They have an interesting combo of a shield and a shotgun, meaning that I have to get behind them to do damage, but I also don't really like staying close to them since they have the shotgun. On top of the shotgun, they also have the ability to give guaranteed super effects to their allies for the turn, which means that I constantly get honeyed, bounced, or whatever other super effects they have whenever they feel like it. But with my goats Mario, Rabbid Mario, and whoever else I decide to keep around, I'm able to get through these fights with a bit of issue, but still get through them. At this point, many of the fights are fairly similar, just with different varieties of enemies for me to one-shot with Mario and Rabbid Mario. It's genuinely just that easy at this point. I mean, I do lose a few times here and there, but it generally just takes a second attempt at the fight to really figure out what my strategy is. Again, the more interesting fights in this game are the challenge levels, so whenever I post that video, I'll link it right here. One of my favorite things that happens sometimes is whenever I don't even have to do the work to finish the level, such as in the second half of Chapter 7. I do a lot of work to get close to the number of defeated enemies that I need, but then the enemies take care of it for me. Sometimes the enemies just kill each other. It's kind of funny. With World 3-8 being basically no issue, I do another laser puzzle and then reach the world boss. And he's just the best. Like, look at this guy. I mean, I'll just let you listen to his beautiful voice for a second. Honestly, I was kind of expecting more than just the blah noises. I don't know why I would expect that. What? Okay, this little song goes on for like over a minute. It's kind of a lot, but this fight is different from the others we've done so far. While in the spotlight, he is completely immune to all forms of damage. Before we can damage the Phantom, I have to break the power cells that are powering the spotlight. To do this, I have to dash into them. I can't just shoot them with the bazooka or anything. I don't know why, but for some reason, I decided to bring Rabbid Luigi into this battle. And I'm gonna be so for real. It was not the best decision. Rabbid Luigi is solid, but similarly to regular Luigi, he is incredibly squishy. And that simple fact destroyed me. Okay, maybe I decided to use Mario's hammer with Rabbid Luigi right next to him, and I just fully exploded Rabbid Luigi with a super effect, and then Rabbid Luigi got sung to death. But like, potato, whatever. Because of this, I start playing a lot more carefully, and I have Mario go on a little journey to get an extra, 2 feet of distance on his movement, so that I can get him closer to the Phantom. But then I defeat the Phantom! Woo! Okay, obviously not. He also has a few phases, just like every boss in an RPG ever. In Phase 2, he moves to one of the side stages and summons a bunch of bucklers. As I said before, these guys are pretty scary. But they also literally have as much health as Smashers, so that makes them even scarier. Rabbid Peach gets low, and Mario is also in a very dangerous location. But a great thing happens. One of the bucklers decides he wants to get a high ground hit on Mario, and in the process of repositioning, he hits the Phantom as well, immediately putting him into Phase 3. And you know he's got to do one final song in Phase 3. I mean, look at this guy. In the final phase, I have Rabbid Peach take out one light and then send her sentry after the buckler that's alive, and it tries to hit the sentry from above. This allows the sentry to go up and hit it and the newly spawned peekaboo, killing the buckler and locking down the peekaboo with honey. Then I have her take out the remaining 2 lights and set up for the next turn. After healing Peach on the previous turn, I can now use Peach's barrier to block most of the damage she will receive, and she gets hit by the funniest pinball sequence I have ever seen in this game. Then Peach and Mario take out the peekaboo, and I have Peach send in her sentry, and I send Mario in. If he crits, it just kills right now. Aw man, he didn't. Well, that's okay. Because Peach's sentry comes back up, I can just take out the Phantom on the next turn. And I'll be real guys, this guy's like my favorite character in this series. He's so silly, but so good. Oh yeah, something interesting I noticed during his death cutscene. These cutscenes are not pre-rendered. I mean, like, some of them probably are, but cutscenes like this one show the damage that you did to the environment during the battle. But yeah, with that fight out of the way, I do all the challenges to give me power orbs, and then head into World 4. Being the final world, this one is pretty difficult. The enemy stats are higher than they've ever been, and we have to deal with this world's stage hazards, the meteors. If I end my turn in one of these spots on the ground, there's a chance that I just take damage and get burned, making me move into a random spot. But as long as I don't stand in these spots, it's generally alright. The only fight that was actually close was this one in a very large grid arena. I hadn't realized that a bunch of smashers were spawning, and both Mario and Luigi ended up dying because of it. But by this point, I've made sure to max out Rabbid Peach's pipe movement, and with it maxed out, she can easily outrun all the smashers and send sentries one at a time to kill them. But it was definitely closer than a lot of fights in this world. Absolutely reminded me to be careful. Then I take about 5 minutes to solve a puzzle that's kind of a little annoying, and then I destroy about 15,000 blocks. Alright, I'm just going to skip ahead to the mid-boss because after that is when everything gets really cool in this chapter. After solving a pretty complicated pipe puzzle, I find Bowser Jr., and he has an incredibly sophisticated mech suit. In this mech suit, he has a few ways that he can attack us. The first is obviously his hammer, which is fashioned like a cow. I still don't know why that's the case. Jr. also has something that no enemy has had up to this point. He has his own sentries, genuinely kinda scary. The last thing he has is just that he has a large movement range. And on top of that, if you hit him, he has the reaction movement ability that smashers have. So if you hit him, he just runs across like half the map to come smack you with his hammer. Now at this point, I have basically just fully maxed out Mario's M power as much as I can because it's just really good. I thought I'd give Peach a chance in this battle because she's gotten about 0 use since I was forced to use her in that one fight in World 2. Something I didn't mention earlier is that her special ability is like the Valkyrie's, where she can redirect damage towards herself. At max damage, she can redirect all damage from her ally to herself. This is great because she also has the highest health pool of any character. Well, that's what I would say if things like this couldn't happen. Yeah, so it turns out that redirecting all damage to a character that can heal their allies for 20% every turn isn't the best. It is basically always a better idea when you're wanting to use this ability to only have it like halfway leveled so she only takes half the damage. Otherwise, stuff like this is quite literally guaranteed if there's ever an AoE attack that hits both her and her party member. And since she has to be close to heal people, you kind of always have her next to a party member. And her heal heals both her and her ally, so you kind of want to split the healing anyway. I don't know why you would want her to take all the damage. That's a waste of heals. Now, something I realized very quickly in this battle is that even though it's supposed to be a difficult mid-boss, it's actually one of the easier ones in this game. This guy is unable to go through pipes because he's massive, but he also doesn't really have enough movement to catch up to me after I use the pipes in this area. So I kind of end up just going back and forth between the pipes while hitting Bowser Jr. any chance that I can get. Bowser Jr. does get one more hit in before he dies, but for some reason when Mario gets burned this time, he goes on the longest run I have ever seen from a burn. The last thing is that I can literally send my own sentry into his group of sentries to explode all of them in his face. And if he runs across his sentries, he also blows them up in his face. And so we end up defeating him in a single attempt, and we finally get Spawny back. Remember this guy? Kind of forgot to talk about him this entire time because he's kind of not that important other than he created all the bosses. Oh yeah, and we get Yoshi the Goat! His ability is the guaranteed super effect of bucklers. This is so good when used properly, as it can give entirely free turns if you use it alongside things like Rabbid Mario's Stone Hammer. Stone completely immobilizes enemies for the turn that they are afflicted. Anyway, with Spawny back, we now have to escort him for a single level. and this level sucks so much. Spawny actually has the highest health bar of any of our escorts to date, but the enemies are just so much stronger at this point, and I'm pretty sure they know that if I lose Spawny, I lose the round, because they are always attacking him even if my entire team is out in the open. To successfully get him through, I make sure to destroy as many people with Luigi's Sentry, and make sure to have Rabbid Peach in the open, so they are more likely to attack her. After a few rounds, I am able to kill all the enemies and get Spawny to the end. But right then, Spawny gets taken from us. No! This is so sad. I think it's stuck on a puzzle for about 15 minutes because I really wanted to get the mushroom at the end of it, but it was a very difficult puzzle. Afterwards, I complete a few more battles, and then run into the best mini-bosses in the game, Wario and Waluigi. Wario has a long-range minigun that does a lot of damage, and he also has access to Villain Sight. Waluigi is similar to a Smasher, but he also has access to Magnet Dance. This makes him very scary since he has the ability to draw us in to bypass his low movement. For this fight, I come up with probably my dumbest strategy I've ever done in this game. I have Mario boost everyone's power with M power, and then send Rabbid Luigi up to the top platform. I then have him draw everyone in and explode them with my hammer, healing him in the process due to it being a vamp hammer. This causes a Smasher and Waluigi to come in and smash down on Rabbid Mario and on each other. Then, Yoshi goes and uses his rocket launcher to hit everyone in the area, killing Rabbid Mario, but also dealing a solid chunk of damage to all of the enemies. Then, I have Mario go in after Wario to kill him before anything crazy happens, and Yoshi ground pounds Waluigi. On the next turn, I boost Yoshi up again with my M power and set up to do the most damage to Waluigi. Now I thought about shooting him with the rocket launcher, but the AoE was big enough that it would kill Mario, so I kind of ended up wasting the boosted damage, because I didn't want to kill Mario. Only Rabbid Mario is supposed to die from the rocket launcher this fight. Waluigi draws both of them in and hits Mario, which kills him. That leaves Yoshi next to the other Smasher, but when the other Smasher goes to hit Yoshi, he actually kills Waluigi and doesn't kill Yoshi. Then on the next turn, I have Yoshi run away, and I guarantee hit the Super with my rocket, and then take out the Smasher with a dash. Our next fight is the final fight before the boss, and it's a triple threat. This involves 3 back-to-back battles with no healing in between. And after about 50 minutes, I finally figure out what I need to do. I figured out how to beat the first 2 battles in a single turn. In the first, I boost damage with Mario, and then have Rabbid Mario, with his almost maxed out skill tree, go through and use his AoE dash to hit almost everyone for a little bit of damage, and then stand right here, Magnet Dance, and by targeting a specific enemy, I'm able to hit everyone with the hammer's huge AoE damage, just killing them all. In the second battle, I bring Luigi to do a similar thing, where I boost with Mario, but then use Luigi's Itchy Feet to give Rabbid Mario 3 more movement. With that movement speed, Rabbid Mario is able to hit these 3 specific enemies to deal enough damage to whoever he needs to, so that when I Magnet Dance and then use Rabbid Mario's hammer, I can kill basically every single enemy in the same turn yet again. Well, except for 3 of them, but 2 of them die from Luigi's Sentry, and with the exact positioning that I used, Mario is able to kill the 3rd without damaging either of the other party members. In the final battle, Wario and Waluigi reappear, and they bring the Lava Queen with them. The Lava Queen is basically just a buffed up Valkyrie. While the first 2 fights were easy, this one is definitely the hardest to be consistent with. At the start, I boost with Mario and Yoshi to get about a 70% damage boosted guaranteed super effect, and then I launch a rocket at the 3 big baddies of this battle. This draws Waluigi in a little bit to make sure that he can get far enough for Rabbid Mario. And then, I have Rabbid Mario run in and use a Magnet Dance to draw everyone nearby close enough to be in the range of a good hammer thwack. And I made sure to equip his Stone Hammer, which makes all 3 of the big baddies completely immobilized for the turn. On the next turn, Rabbid Mario basically just runs through the 3 baddies, and then Mario and Yoshi come and finish them off. And at this point, it's easy enough to clean up the rest of the enemies. Finally, after some more puzzles, it's time to fight the big bad. The Megabug has a hold of Bowser and has turned him into Mega Dragon Bowser. Oh, you don't know about the Megabug? Yeah, it's basically the portal from Super Paper Mario, but in this game. And now it's corrupted Bowser. And I have to say, this game has quite literally the best animations for Mario characters that I think I have ever seen in a Mario game, especially for Bowser. He has never looked this fluid. I enter into the fight with Rabbid Peach, Mario, and Rabbid Yoshi. I truly believe that these are for sure the best allies to bring. This fight, just like all of the other bosses, has 3 phases. The first has Bowser on the ground alongside 4 Valkyries, but These are nice to have since they have the ability to block damage against Bowser. This wouldn't be good for me, but honestly it gives me an easy way to deal with both the Valkyries and Bowser at the same time, as they'll just end up dying due to trying to tank for him. Bowser's main attack is a minigun-like attack, and he also has Villain Sight to attack my allies when they move. Overall, the attempt is going very well. Rabbid Yoshi does get down to like literally 1 HP, but Rabbid Peach's heal does an 80% max health heal at this point, so as long as they don't die, I can heal them to full every couple turns. But Bowser was a little scared of us at this point and decided to cheat. And I'm serious, this isn't like a, man, he really got me and I couldn't defeat him because I misplayed. No, after Rabbid Luigi gets to 1 HP, I set myself up to tank for him so Bowser doesn't kill him, but as I said, Bowser cheats, and you can tell how excited I am about it. Bowser, for some reason, gets stuck in place while trying to move towards my allies, so his turn never ends. I sat here for like a minute and a half seeing if something would happen. It didn't. Great first attempt though. Second attempt goes much better, and he doesn't break the fight by freezing up. Originally, I thought that Rabbid Peach wouldn't be able to damage Bowser with their sentry while he was in the air, and I was going to fully rely on Rabbid Yoshi doing the damage at that time. But I learned pretty early on at my second attempt that the range of Peach's best available sentry is large enough that she can hit Bowser with it while he's in the air. So I get way more damage in this fight than I thought I would. With some good strategizing, I'm able to deal with Phase 1 fairly easily by using Peach to tank the Villain Sights, and by having Rabbid Yoshi tank any random hits with his 100% damage reduction shield. And I also make sure to heal with Peach whenever it's available. This creates a perfect cycle, as Peach's heal comes up every 3 turns, while both of their shields come up every 2 turns. In Phase 2, Bowser flies to the edge of the map and gains a new ability, but this ability is a detriment to him. He begins to start caring about his underlings and gains the damage redirect ability. This was dumb. This just means I can kill him at the same time I'm killing his allies. Another thing that's kind of silly about this phase is Bowser, quite literally, cannot attack you. He lets his underlings do all the dirty work, and I'm not sure why. Like, I guess he's summoning meteors to hit me, but they do quite literally nothing. With all of his minions dead and his only attack being the meteors, I can very easily just stand where the meteors aren't going to spawn and heal to full health before I put him into his final phase. After dealing enough damage, he goes into this final phase where he becomes fully invincible, and he changes his attack to a spin attack that goes directly towards my allies. And he also gains his minigun back. The only way to deal with this phase is by allowing him to run into the unbreakable metal blocks around the map. This causes him to destroy the unbreakable block, which I don't know how that works, but he also gets stunned when he does this, which drops his shield for my next turn. Now, as this is the only way to deal damage to him, if he were somehow able to break every single one of these blocks, the fight would be impossible. But honestly though, I don't know why I said that. Made it sound way more dire than it is. On the first turn that his shield drops, I deal 1200 damage to him, and on the second turn that his shield drops, I deal the rest. It was a hilariously easy final phase. And with that, Mega Dragon Bowser goes down, and the Mega Bug gives him back. And in the final cutscene, my whole team comes together and shoots him down. Guys, we can't do that. 70 orbs! Poggies! Anyway, with that, we get Spawny back safely and enjoy a nice pre-rendered cutscene that ends with a good selfie with all of my teammates. Other than cutscenes and the tutorial, that is the entire game without ever shooting the primary weapon. There's no way to skip the tutorial that I know of, and it's kind of also required to do those fights to unlock weapons in the first place, so there probably isn't gonna be anything for us to do about that. Although I guess skipping weapons doesn't matter since I don't want primaries to begin with. Huh. Someone let me know if there's something I missed there, like if there's a glitch or something that I could use. But yeah, like I said earlier, I'm gonna make a video going over all the challenge levels in the near future, since those are honestly way more interesting strategy-wise compared to the main story. This will also include the 4 ultimate challenges, but if you want to see me do those lives, I will be streaming around the time that this video releases, so watch out for that. Anyway, thanks to my members. If you want to support my content, becoming a member is a great way to do it, but also just subscribing and sticking around to watch my videos has an incredible impact as well. Thanks for watching.